I'm Tami McCarthy.
And I'm Becki Davis.
We're two soul sisters on the front lines of growth and transformation, getting real about it all.
You know, sometimes we're totally in our woo-woo groove, walking on light.
Yep. And other times, we lose our footing and end up tripping over those very same rays of sunshine. That's woo-woo in the real world. On this show, we're giving you an inside look at all the healing practices and mindfulness that we use and how we integrate them into our lives.
Yep, we're talking to interesting people who can help us along the way as we look at some of the woo and wild things that make us go,
We hope that you'll join us, living woo-woo in the real world. Hey, well, welcome back to Woo Woo in the Real World, episode, I don't know what, but it's fire.
It's the fire season.
Yeah, right?
Fire
And
episode.
How timely. We're right in the middle of summer.
Yes.
It is Leo season.
It is.
Which
and
is,
we're heading into a heat wave.
And we're headed into a heat wave. Like, how many heat waves have we had so far? It's been insane.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
So good
how
day.
you feeling,
Good day
Beck?
to talk about fire, I guess.
Yes, I
Although
know.
We were both just saying that before we started. Our last episode was on water.
Yes.
Which was amazing.
Which is out today.
Which is out today.
And when you're listening to this, it would have been a week ago, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks
2
ago.
weeks ago.
Actually, 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. So our first two episodes in this season about air with Marin Azoff and water with Nina Curley were so good.
Oh my gosh, so
And now-
juicy.
So juicy. Now the pressure's on because we're doing this fire one. Just the two of us.
I know.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm okay with it being just the two of us because both of us use fire and burning rituals in our practices, right? I mean, for me, I am all about the burning of stuff. And as a segue from water, where we were talking to Nina about bathing rituals, right? And intention setting and how she was using the ritual of bathing around the moon cycles
Yes.
to really work through and shift a lot in terms of what she was dealing with, specifically with seasonal blues in the winter, right?
Yeah.
Like she started that in January.
And she said it got her through the winter in a way she had never gotten through before.
Totally.
Yeah.
And also just, you know, a whole career change. Right?
That's right.
That part of the conversation was so fascinating because, you know, often when we're faced with making a decision, we have sort of these fallback ways of doing it and how we kind of process sometimes. Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? And I just loved what she said about the doors, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Door 1, door 2, but then there was door 3. And we were like, wait a second, door 3. I mean, that's amazing, right? So water in that case for her and the ritual of bathing really helped her kind of process what she was feeling, decisions she was making or facing in her life. And she used a book as a guide. And for fire, there are times around particularly a new moon or a full moon where I will go to a burning ritual to help release or process or move energy.
Yeah.
And I remember one of our episodes.
Yeah, the bay leaves.
We did bay leaves.
We did bay leaves, which then I continued on with because
Yes.
we remember it was like we were leading up into a new moon, right? I can't remember the exact
Yeah.
timing of what
Yeah.
we were. It was in a moon
It was. It was
cycle.
new when we did that episode,
Yeah.
and you did it until the full moon.
That's right. And then I buried.
Yes.
That's right.
And in that process, we wrote on the on the bay leaf, and then we burned it, and then you take the ashes and you bury that
Yes.
in the earth.
And let me tell you, I just feel like I want to report out on that a
think you
little
should,
bit, right?
actually,
Because
yes.
that was in February.
Yes.
That episode was in February.
I think so. Time is a blur.
Time is way a blur right
Yes.
now. But let's say it was February.
Yeah.
And I did that for that cycle. And I was very intentional. I had a theme that I was working with and that I was working on and just some very specific intentions and did them every day after my meditation, burned my bay leaves. I buried my bay leaves. And I will tell everybody, it's not like anything happened immediately, but things did start to happen. And like in a crazy woo-woo, another
Sure.
episode
Yeah.
kind of way that still astonishes me right now. Because
Totally.
a lot of what I was writing about and really trying to be more conscientious about in February to manifest or to, I don't know, attract towards you or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
It really worked.
And it's like when we were talking to Nina, you know, she was not woo-woo.
No.
She was not she wasn't looking for this, right?
No.
The book was a gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was like, well, why not? And I just loved that part of the conversation where we talked about, like, is this spirituality? Is it scientific? I don't know, but this is working and I'm going to stick with it, right? Like something is happening. It's stirring a different kind of feeling. My energy feels different. How I am moving through my life is different, right? Because stuff is going to constantly come up. So speaking of that, I mean, here we are. If anybody, follows different astrologers or spiritual gurus or teachers, you and I follow a lot, and we're constantly like shooting screenshots back and forth to each other. Like, oh my God, like this is what I saw first thing in the morning, and we were just talking about this yesterday. Or
that happened this morning, everyone.
I know, but like so many different times. It always happens.
Always.
And so anyway, the point of it is that, we're in this very cosmic time. The nodes are shifting.
Yeah, the nodes shifted.
Venus is retrograde.
Yes, she is.
And we both are in this Chani app where it follows your rising sign. And I'm a Leo rising. So I am like, I'm a Virgo, but I'm a Leo rising. And so this time right now, like I am feeling it on so many levels in terms of what is going on astrologically and cosmically. And in this fire season, right in the middle of summer. And like even before I came over here, I texted you. And this is real, people. This is like what happens. And I'm like, just in the middle of a sobbing episode. Like I am sobbing. It is my sobbing episode, right? As I got out of the shower. And, that's what happens too when in meditation or in mindfulness or knowing that there's kind of this whole ritual that we're going to do in fire that we're going to be talking about. I think it was just really conscious for me thinking on just such a subtle level in my body, like what do I need to release?
Yeah.
And there were no
there.
words. It was just crying.
Yeah.
And I just, cried. I had a good cry.
Man, I got to tell you, that feels good.
It does feel so good.
It feels really good. I used to really, not avoid is not the right word, but I guess I wouldn't let myself go there, right? Like I wouldn't let myself go there with a good cry. But when you do.
But like, did you think, you wouldn't let yourself go there because, and I'm really curious because I know how it is for me too. But is it because like, we're girls and that's like a sign of weakness or?
Yeah, good question. I think it was a couple of things. I think it's a sign of weakness. I think it was always the feeling of, and I think a lot of people can get trapped in this of like, well, look how great my life is. Like, what do I really have to be crying about? Like, maybe I'm overblowing this. In fact, I had a conversation with my daughter just yesterday. Something really upset her. And she was, talking to me about how to kind of move through that and how to deal with that situation. And then right before she was about to say something about it to the person, she goes, but wait, what if I'm overblowing it? And I think that is it a lot of times. That was it for me. It was kind of like, maybe I'm overblowing it. Maybe I'm overreacting, right?
Yeah.
And what I said to her then, and I could only say to her then because I've learned how to say to myself is, it's not overblowing. It's how you feel.
It's how you feel.
So it doesn't matter if the other person thinks it's overblown or not, because that's how it landed with you.
Right.
And that's how you take it in. So if you want to have a meaningful relationship with this person, they need to understand how things hit with you. So I don't know. I think it was a lot of stuff wrapped up. And just also I like to be efficient, and crying is not efficient because I'm sure you were not counting on coming out of the shower sobbing. Oh yeah. And having however many minutes that took.
I don't think I'm going to be at your place when I said I was going to be at your place. I might need a little bit more time, know? And then I thought like, also, before the shower, I was doing dishes. And for some reason, I can never keep up with the dishes in my house. I don't know if anybody has this problem, But for me, it's a problem. Like, we load the dishwasher, we wash the dishes, and before you know it, the entire sink is filled up again, right? And I haven't even unloaded that first load, right? And then sometimes I'm just like, Jesus, what is happening here? The dishes are like bunnies, right?
They're like
So let's just say this is a lead up to I had a longer period of time with myself because I was doing all these dishes, right? I put away the clean dishes. I loaded the new dishes that were dirty, that needed to be cleaned, but there were still so many dishes left over that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wash the dishes. And I remember, I think it was Eckhart Tolle said something like, you know, when you're washing the dishes, wash the dishes.
Yeah.
Like, just think,
Be
just
present.
be right there with the dishes. And like, that's what I was doing. I was like feeling the water. I was enjoying making everything soapy. You know, it's lavender dish soap. So I was like smelling it. And then I put my playlist on that I like to, you know, listen to, right? I had a whole vibe going, right? And then I went to take my shower. And I was like, wow.
What's happening?
You know, and like we were joking around before, is it fire season or is it water season? Because like the faucet just, like, something needed to be released. I got so present with myself that something clearly bubbled up, you know? And I remember like feeling these sensations in my body, right? And going like, what is it? Either I'm going to get like a phone call of great news, or it could be like a dreaded terrible phone call. It was like that kind of feeling, right?
Yeah.
Like something's coming up. And then I was like, oh, girl, just take your shower. You got things to do.
Well, that's the thing, right?
It's the real world.
Right. I don't have time for this.
I don't have time for this.
Absolutely.
Right? Get on with your day. Get on with yourself.
Yep, indeed.
Yeah.
That is my
And
MO.
the funny thing is, like, I don't have anything big aha, right? Like, I did this crying or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think I even bumped into my son afterwards. He's like, you know, good morning, hi. And I'm like, I was just crying. And he's like, is everything okay? I'm like, it's great. I was just crying.
I don't know why. It's just all coming out. Yeah. Well, what I think is fascinating about like the emotions and how they relate to the elements is how they all can live together, right? Just like fire and water, they you know, they do kind of live in an ecosystem together, right?
Exactly.
And like you were saying earlier, because I was saying it's like it's fire season and I feel so fiery in some ways, but I feel so watery in other ways. And you said, well, sometimes you need the water to like put out a fire. Sometimes the fire gets too hot and too intense, and then you need the water to put the fire out.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's interesting because it's also easy to go so quickly from one emotion to another, from crying about something and releasing something,
Right.
to, you know, a fire feeling of, you know, I've been playing around a lot lately with my therapist about the concept of anger being holy fire.
Oh,
that's what she
that's a
calls
good
it.
one.
It's a really good one, especially for anyone who might be slightly anger averse or anger repressed, which apparently I am, because that's what.
Which one?
I don't know. I think both.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Like I think.
Oh, you
both.
could be both.
You can be averse. Like I think it's. I don't know. It's like I don't think these are technical terms. These are just my terms. Everyone.
So, like, is it hard for you to get angry?
Yeah, well, yeah, like I can get like pissed off in a second about something, but the thing that like my therapist is working with me on, she's just like, you just told me that whole story. Like, what are you feeling right now? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not feeling anything. And she was like, oh, are you sure about that? Because you looked really mad. And I was like, mad? I don't think I was angry. She was like, you were so mad. Like, she was like, you're everything about your body language. And then even when I look back at like what I was saying, the story I was telling, I was mad. Like I was pissed off. But it was so funny to me because when she asked me in that moment, like, what are you feeling in this moment? I said, I don't know.
You couldn't ID it.
I don't know. Which then also, it's like once I ID'd it and she was just like, and her point to me was, and what happened when you got mad? You know, because I got snappy with someone, and, you know, I basically said to someone, don't ever do that to me again. And if you ever do that again, then I'm going to exit. Like, that's what's going to happen.
Good for you.
I know. It's a rare moment that I would do something like that.
That's huge, Beck.
It's huge. But I did. Like, I would, because I got pissed. Like, it was just so in that moment. And I was almost apologizing for it when I was telling her. And she was like, do not apologize for that. She's like, what happened when that happened? Like, what happened when that fire, when that fire flamed up and it was too much and you snapped and you said that? And she said, what happened? And I was like, I don't know. I can't see things.
Yeah.
But her point was, she said, it clarified things. It made crystal clear to you what was acceptable and what was not acceptable because somebody had crossed a boundary, which is also a big theme of the season right now with Venus in retrograde. It's really about our values and our core values, and are we living in alignment with them?
Yes.
How are we bringing them into the world?
Yes.
And what relationships are we in? And how are they supporting our values, or how are they violating our values?
Yes.
And so to me, I am using this concept of fire and the concept of holy fire. And I've done a ton of work on my core values. And I actually have a workbook for core values. If anybody needs help uncovering their core values, I have kind of a process to do that. And I'm happy to share it for free.
Amazing.
But I've been really looking at that and really trying to tap into the natural element of fire as it relates to anger being holy fire, and allowing it to be a clarifying agent to really, because I think that's sometimes when I get stuck, it's because I feel like I don't have clarity or I'm not sure.
Right.
But there's something about this, allowing this anger and learning how to harness it and not let it burn the house down. Right. But how do I hold it in my hands and really use it as like almost like an alchemical agent for me to get clarity. And I've been working really intently on that these last couple of weeks in particular. And it has clarified so much for me, which has really helped me hold some boundaries and has helped me really align with my core values in a way that I didn't realize I wasn't. So for me, like, that's how I have been working with the element of fire. It's more conceptual and a little more metaphorical. But I think it's as powerful because
that is so powerful.
Fire is, we hate forest fires. Obviously we hate forest fires the way they're happening right now, but they serve a purpose. They clear a forest for new growth. They bring clarity, they bring minerals, they bring things that are needed for new growth. It's, fire's not to be feared, but we do have to learn how to work with it.
Totally.
And respect it.
Yeah. Wow.
That was long and winded. Sorry.
No, but that's what it is, right? That is really intense. Like the whole time you were talking, I felt like I was in the fire with you.
It's been really fiery.
That's recording, right?
It is.
Okay.
I know. We're just going to keep our eye on our...
We're like doing all the techie things. Perfect.
We are still at it.
That's all good.
It's all good.
So, but not to lose our train of thought, because I think I could see as you were talking about that and as I was watching you, you're onto something, right? You're onto something about yourself, and you're saying that regardless of what happens, I need to do this for me because I know that it's essential to my growth. And sometimes when we're doing this, we don't necessarily know what the end result is going to be, but you know that what you're doing is clearing away some kind of energetic junk that's actually holding you back.
For sure.
Right?
For sure holding you
and
back.
That is the idea of fire and ritual, and certainly that's one aspect to use it to your benefit for growth, whether that's your personal growth, your spiritual growth, however you want to define that process for yourself. It's really, really powerful, right?
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of times, though, in my case, for example, I'm really trying to... As you call it, sort of the holy fire of anger, my thing with fire is my inner fire, and really stoking those flames, right? To be, I guess maybe true to myself and to my path, and to blaze this new path that for me is kind of revealing itself with every section that I burn or clear.
Yep.
Right? So, I mean, if anybody follows me on social media, you know I had these goats living on our property.
Those goats were so cute.
For a little bit more than a week. And it was really also metaphorical to watch this herd of 32 goats, you know, clearing this path, and particularly in this like foresty section of the property, and then to walk through that path when they were done. Like it was, I don't know, it was just so beautiful, and just energetically, I was just like, wow, you know, this is kind of what it feels like when you're doing it, you know?
Yes.
You know that there's work being done.
Yeah.
Like I was watching those goats, and I was seeing what they were doing. And when they got there, I was like, what is this going to be like when they're done? Like, how are they really going to be effective?
Right. Am I going to be able to tell a difference?
Yeah. And for anybody listening, like if you don't know about this process, you can hire a goat service. You have your property evaluated. We have a terrible invasive problem in our community in particular, but yes, especially on my property. And so goats are, you know, the best ecological solution for a reset of your land. It's better for your land. Their little poop drops, you know, are nitrogen-rich fertilizer. You know, there's little pellets for your soil. They weaken the energy of the invasives as they eat them, so they're less likely to grow back. And you might need the goats, like, you know, 1 or 2 more times down the road, but it's just so much better for the land and for clearing a property. But kind of just watching them, it was kind of like a spiritual journey, you know? Everything's all weedy. It looks terrible.
Yeah. You can't see what's underneath there.
You can't see what's underneath there. And they're just, you know, they show up and they're chomping away. But they're so consistent. They don't, every day. It's like, you know, I could see their patterns. I could learn their personalities. And at times they were working individually, and at times they were working as a group. And then all of a sudden, it's like I'm seeing sunlight in places in the forest that we never saw sunlight on the forest floor before.
Oh, wow.
Right? And then it's a little more clear, and it's a little more clear. And then you walk in there, and you're just like, wow, this is amazing. And it's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And honestly, and this was like a big aha moment, because, yes, they cleared tons of stuff, the entire perimeter of our property, and now I can walk through the woods. But guess what? There's a lot of sticks left behind. They don't eat those.
That's right.
So now there's more work to do.
More work to do. Mm-hmm.
And isn't that so true to this spiritual process?
Yes, it is.
Right?
You clear away one bit, and then you see, oh, that's the next bit to clear away, and then the next bit to clear away, and then, yeah.
Or like, okay, I took care of that, but guess what? There's still other stuff to do.
That's right.
And that's where the growth comes in. Right? And so, you know, fire is very similar, very, very similar, right? And our bodies, the way we store energy from our own lives, from our interactions with people, just everything, right? Experiences we've had, whether they're happy or sad, trauma that we've experienced, energy, emotions, happiness, sadness, and everything in between is all stored in our bodies.
Oh, yes, it is. It is all in here, for sure. And you don't know, like, who knows what energy was coming up for you when you were crying today?
Correct.
You know, or who knows what energy comes up when you feel like this fiery, you know, anger energy. Like, that's coming from somewhere too. So
Yes.
yeah, it's all energy. You know, emotions are just energy in motion.
Yes.
So
Totally. You know, when you were talking, I flashed on this whole thing where, you know, like I've read a lot about this, and I've certainly worked on it myself, and I know we've had conversations about this thing, which is, you know how when something happens and like you may have a fiery reaction to it, and a lot of times that's not always good.
that's right.
Right? Especially if you're giving your power away to someone who shouldn't actually have it. Like you need to, right? And so you know how there's, you know, in sessions that I've been in with healers, or even in therapeutic sessions, it's like, well, if you no longer react that way to a situation or a person,
You know you're growing.
you know you're growing.
Yes.
Right? It's a sign of growth. And that's also to say that when we are working through things, these rituals are a great way to say, okay, I don't really want to react that way anymore. Or I really don't, or you notice a reaction about yourself, or you notice that you're feeling particularly anxious when you're around certain people or you're in certain situations. That's a great way to take your power back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny because as you were saying that about like that feeling, it's not always good if you like explode with the anger and you're pushing it out because you're giving your power away. I had a realization when you were saying that, this whole concept of like the holy fire. I mean, I could definitely get angry for sure. I could have a short fuse and get mad. I mean, especially like when my kids were really little. Totally.
Yes.
I mean, it's just like so much stress and you're constantly getting barraged with things, and it wouldn't take very much to like send me off. That feeling though that I felt in my body after I would kind of explode or react, let's say, right? Like I'm reacting with anger to something. It felt completely depleting. Like it was horrible. I would feel bad. My body would feel drained, like physically like drained, and it didn't feel good. Because to me, like yelling, it doesn't feel good in my body. Like I know that sometimes it needs to happen. But this is so fascinating. You're saying this about like how you're feeling and how the energy is stored in your body. This experience that I've been having more recently as I'm learning to kind of embrace the concept of the holy fire and anger having a job to do and harnessing it more, it actually feels really fucking good. Like it feels empowering. I don't feel like I'm leaking anything actually. I feel like I'm actually solidifying my boundaries. I feel like it's almost like I'm like flashing on like a Marvel movie, where like they put up an energy field or something.
Or this ring of fire is around you.
Yes, where it's like a ring of fire. I almost feel like that's what it feels like because I'm finding myself in a situation right now where things are coming at me and it's a lot of energy, and I'll have moments where I feel weepy or sad about it, and then I have moments where something happens and it's really clarifying because it's triggering that kind of holy fire, and all of a sudden I'm like, shoom. It's almost like there goes the ring of fire around me,
Right.
And I'm like, no, actually, I feel really solid about standing right here and telling you no, like this is my circle, and no, that is not my energy, or that doesn't belong to me, or whatever. It's a different feeling.
It is such a different feeling. It is such a different feeling.
Ooh, that was a good little aha for me, Tami. Thanks for unlocking it.
Oh, it was amazing to witness, actually.
Because I feel like, I've been writing about it and like really trying to work with this element of fire, because I do think it can feel scary to people because you don't want to go fly off the handle, and you don't want to burn bridges or burn relationships or hurt someone. Like no one wants to do that.
No one wants to do that.
And that's in its best form. I feel like this element of fire, it doesn't do that. It just strengthens things. It solidifies things. It's like when you put metal into a fire to forge it. It makes it stronger. And I feel like when you're using the energy of fire in a healthy way, that's exactly what happens. It just fortifies you and makes you stronger.
And actually imagine though, for anybody listening, you may be listening to Becki as I am, thinking that, wow, this is amazing to witness, because imagine if you didn't have a tool or a vehicle to move that energetically away from you. Imagine if you just sat there with your anger, or imagine like you have kids. Done. Well, I'm sure. Right?
It doesn't work out so well.
Exactly. Or you just begin to take it all out on everybody else. And in really unhealthy ways. Right? And, so one of the beautiful things about what you're describing is, it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
And why do we talk about these things? And and when I say these things, I'm talking about rituals, because that's our theme, because these are small steps that you can take. I mean, look at how you are basically doing a reframe
Yeah.
around anger. And also Nina talked about this in the water episode. I mean, she found her path to it because she was feeling particularly angry as it related to her career sometimes, or the people that she was working with, and she didn't like how that was feeling or how that was coming across or spilling over in her home life, right? And we've all experienced that.
Yep.
And probably will continue to. But one of the things that rituals really help with is dialing it all down, taking your power back, having an intention around how you want to be. And if your anger is bubbling up and it's a problem for you, as we've all experienced, it's been a problem in our lives, there are steps that you can take to, we have pen and paper here. One of the things that, I like to do, and we've done this, and whether it's pen and paper or whether it's bay leaves or whatever anybody has at home, the universe loves and responds when we take action and we write stuff down.
Oh, yes, it does.
Right?
Oh, yes,
and
it does.
And it's also a way of focusing your monkey mind and your energy to really kind of shift into, how do you want to be? How do you want to show up in the world? Right? And I don't know about anybody else, but I've tried to sit around and wish and think, and, if I think this will happen, it'll happen. It doesn't.
No.
Nope. Right? So, whenever I have been really intentional and I've done a ritual, and not just one ritual, like, you have to be consistent.
You do. And I love that Nina said that. She actually mentioned that about the bathing, the ritual bathing. And she was like, I did it the whole season and it was cumulative, right? It would not have worked if I had just done one. It builds on itself. It really, really does.
It really builds on itself. That's why, if anybody has ever looked into affirmations, for example, there's power in the repetition of them, right? And so whatever that affirmation is that you want to, is it something that you want to manifest in your world? How you want to be, how you want to show up, what you want to bring, what you want to attract. Affirmations really do work. And Marin talked about them too.
Yes.
Different than mantras. That's completely different,
Totally
because
different.
that works on vibration, right? And the theme for all of these conversations, and especially around rituals for me, is that we don't have to be beholden to our thoughts. We don't have to be beholden to a specific energy that we're experiencing, whether it's our own energy or from other people. However, you do have to be intentional, and you do have to bring in whether it's meditation, whether it's a bath, whether it's burning something, whatever. Like, that's what this conversation and that's what this podcast is all about. Like, explore those things.
That's right.
Take a bath, do a ritual, burn something.
Burn it and then bury it.
Burn it and bury it.
The ashes are good to bury. I do, for my fire ritual, I actually do a fire ritual every day.
You do?
I do, because I have on this table, for people who are not watching but just listening, we have a little altar set up on our table here. And I have this candle. It's actually a birthday candle, which we get nothing from this company, so it's not like I'm making a plug for them. But it's called, I think they're just called birthday candles from the birthday company. I'm not even sure. But it's specific to your birthday. And it has a lot of information on there about like your zodiac sign and your power number and all these different things. And it's a specially formulated scent for that day. And I have purchased multiple for different people's birthdays, and they smell different and they are different. So, at least they are consistently
different.
It's not
60 minutes back. We're not.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not investigating the birthday candle.
That's true. But I light this every day. This is like my candle that I light every day when I sit down to meditate.
Yeah.
And then I light a Palo Santo stick, for people who aren't familiar with that. It's this wooden, which I was introduced by you.
Yes.
Holy wood. For my holy fire. Okay. That's like, and I burn this over sage, which we also have there, because I just prefer the smell. I don't really like the smell of sage so much. And I like the smell of Palo Santo, and, I burn it, and I will very intentionally move it around different parts of my body. And as I do, I try to say, to myself, let whatever thoughts have built up over the last 24 hours, like just kind of clear away.
Right.
Like let whatever is blocking my vision, move that out of my way so I can see what I need to see. Like make sure I'm speaking with kindness and with my truth always. Like, so help me move any energy there. I move kind of down each little part of my body.
I love that. Yeah.
And all my chakras, and and I go in front of me and I'm like, please, help clear the energy of what's coming in front of me. And I put it behind me and I'm like, please clear the energy of what I've been through.
Yeah.
Right. Like release all of that. And I do that every day, and I try to be really intentional about it, of just smoking it out, burning it out.
I
right.
love it.
And then I sit down and I do my meditation and, go where that goes. But yeah, I guess I do. I've done that really, really consistently for well over a year. Well over a year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I feel like it does. There's something about when you do it over and over. It's like your nervous system. It's like Nina said, like, is it science? Is it spiritual? I don't know. But there is something about the fact when I strike that match, when I light that wood, when I smell it, my body does start to amp down.
Yes, I'm sure your whole nervous system is now recognizing that as I'm calm, I'm centered, I'm grounded, I'm totally in my body, which, is a beautiful thing, because that's, so many people go through their day in a fight or flight response all the time, right? And I think that is such a beautiful thing that you do. Now, for me, I bring in so it's funny because like I light candles all the time. I mean, I always have candles going in my house. For me, that is a great way to experience energy and also use scent as a way to activate the space too, right?
For sure. And your home always smells amazing.
Thank you.
No, it does. But
I really do feel that way
calming
about candles, fire. I mean, as you know, I'm a fireplace fanatic, and anytime we can light a fire, I just can't wait. And I love to do that. So I feel as though I'm using it as energy activation, but also with sound. So right before this episode, I don't know why, but I felt like I want to bring the chime and I want to activate our space with some sound.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a way to set a specific space or clear the space so that you can be fully present. So whether that's your home, whether that's this studio where we're recording today, and it's just a way to kind of think about your own energy and the energy that you want to put out and experience.
Yeah. I love the idea of it as activation, because I really haven't worked with it in that way, other than when we burnt the bay leaves.
Yes.
That was activation. And I have done like paper, like you write something and you burn it. I've done those before, but as a regular practice, I haven't really approached fire that way. And that might be a nice element to incorporate as I move forward and learn how to work with my holy fire here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
I do too. Thank you.
Use it as an activator.
Yeah. And especially what you were saying earlier about your inner flame, which has nothing to do with anger, actually. It has everything to do with peace.
Absolutely. And your solar plexus chakra.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what like fires you up. And yeah, I mean, I've done some coaching work. And when I do that, my primary job is to help a client get in touch with their inner flame. And at first it can be a little tricky to feel it. But once a client feels it and gets that inner flame, yeses and nos become very clear, very clear. Because you're like, oh, that set my flame to a 9 or 10, right? And then other things are like, oddly, my flame's at like a 2 or a 3. It tells you something. Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, that is a great way. As you're talking about that, it reminds me of when I was working with that energy coach and trying to really, I like the inner fire example, because we were talking about alignment and how your ego can trick you sometimes.
Oh, yes, it can.
And I'm like, well, is that alignment, or is my ego just going bonkers right now? Because, we can get excited about certain things because our ego wants to keep us there.
Yes. Right. So what was was there a revelation on that one? Like, how do you know if it's...
Well, yes. So for that particular example and for the alignment thing, it is what are you, and it's kind of, that's what, when you were talking about inner fire and is it going like a 9 or 10?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the energy that you're feeling in your body, right? And she didn't describe it as an inner fire, but she was like, how do you want to feel? Right? And so think about how you want to feel, and is that making you feel that way?
Yeah.
And when you start to kind of filter it through that, it's easy to kind of see what is feeling like true alignment and what is feeling like ego. And that's really hard, right? Because then I started to evaluate some things or decisions that I had made, and it didn't quite work out the way I thought that it would.
Huh.
And it wasn't as fulfilling.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, because you listened to your ego.
Right.
And you did the safe thing.
Uh-huh.
And now look at you. Yeah. And now look at you. You're all unfulfilled.
Yeah. Your ego doesn't care if you're fulfilled, happy. It wants you safe.
And to your point, though, like my inner fire was like barely a spark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Interesting.
And so when you start to like put all these little pieces of this puzzle together, which is why, like, I guess that was maybe yesterday we were talking, and it's like, I'm just in this unknown space.
Oh my gosh.
Like I made this clearing.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to sit in the clearing for a little while.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, if I've written I just don't know in my morning pages once, I've written it 1,000 times.
Yeah, I just
over
don't
the last
know.
couple months.
Just
I'm
don't
like,
know.
I just don't know. I just don't know. Yeah, exactly. Which is, it's the place where
told
you
me
want to
it's
be.
like staring into the abyss.
It really is.
Let's just have this phase be staring into the abyss.
Yeah. But apparently landing in this space of saying, I just don't know, according to like practitioners of spiritual traditions and also therapists of modern day psychology or depth psychology, the word on the street, everyone, is that when you land in this place of like, I just don't know, that's when it all starts to happen.
Okay, I'm waiting.
So like we're waiting.
I'm waiting.
Universe, do you hear us? We've
Maybe
said
we
I
should
don't
burn
know.
something while we wait.
Maybe we should burn something that says I just don't know. Maybe we should do a
I'm
little
gonna write
fire
that
ritual.
down.
I know, right?
I'm going to write that down.
Get your pen, get your paper, everyone. If you're with us, I just don't know.
Don't know.
Yeah,
We're going to send that out to the universe.
that's right. Because guess what? I really don't.
Really don't.
I got a lot of things I just don't know about right now.
No. And this is where I actually read this today. You know how you get like those spiritual messages of the day?
Oh, yes.
And so it was, if we weren't using my phone, I would pull it up. But it's something along the lines of what we're just talking about, because it's like, just be comfortable with the unknown and let the universe blow your mind.
Yeah.
Because often it could go in a way that A, you didn't think of, but B, it's better than what you could have thought of.
That's right. You probably never could think of it.
Yeah.
Because it just was never in your purview before.
So this is my official announcement to the universe that you have my permission to blow my mind.
I love that so much.
Can we just,
Yeah. Just blow it right open.
blow it right the fuck up. I'm ready.
Yes.
In all the best ways.
She is so ready. Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
And I don't know why, but it's just like,
You're there.
You're like on the cajon right now in my head, and you're just like starting with your earth my body.
I know. Yes. Yeah. Can we have just one moment? We just have to tell our listeners just really quickly about like, no, it fits in actually in the theme of I don't know. Right.
Yes.
And this whole like surrendering.
I don't know
into
what you're
the
going to say,
universe.
but I'm all into it. So go.
But so we had this event. We were doing this event right
Yes.
before
In
4th of
person.
July in person,
Yep.
and here in Pound Ridge, locally where we live in New York. And it was just a nice like gathering of women, and you do lots of these things. And so I was doing this one with you, and we were kind of like, oh, what do we want to do? Because sometimes I'll sing, like I'll write a song meditation, or I'll sing a song that is particularly thoughtful.
We've been playing around with this concept.
have.
We did it at the last sound bath.
Yes. And so, but this was the first one where we didn't have like a hook of anything else.
Correct.
And so we decided, because we're talking about rituals and elements, so we decided, Tami said, oh, why don't you just sing the song Earth My Body, which is a great song.
Great
it's
song.
on
Love it.
Spotify. You can catch it anywhere. It's really a chant, kind of ritualistic sounding.
I think we should do a video and put it on our woo-woo.
We probably should.
Put it on our
Yeah.
woo-woo Insta.
Yeah. And so speaking of like things you don't think of, right? So I'm
Yes.
listening to this song and I'm like, oh, but that's really, there are a lot of layers of harmonies, and what makes that good is like all the looping. And then all of a sudden that word looping, I was like, wait a minute. What if I got a looper pedal and like try to loop my voice? And I'd never done it before. And just because we had this conversation, right, where it was just
Well,
like,
we were talking about the elements.
we were talking about the elements,
Yep.
exactly. And so that's what led us to that song.
Yep.
So I got a looper, and the night that I got it and tried it, I was like blowing Tami's phone up. I was like, you don't understand. This might be the most amazing thing that I've ever gotten my hands on musically. Like, I feel like a kid. Like, I feel like when I was 6 years old and got my first guitar at Christmas, you know, like,
So fun.
it was such an amazing, and I was playing and having so much fun with it. And so we were heading into this event, and we had never done this before, like the looping and the things, and it's kind of out there. And
Yeah.
and we did it, and everybody really appreciated it. And then we ended up at the end, we ended up creating like a live loop
Yes.
with people there, which
With the participants.
is not my jam, people. Like, I don't
know why she says that. It's going to be her jam.
It's going to be my jam. I think so, right?
It was so much fun.
But it was
and we
so
got
much
such great
fun.
feedback. People really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. And but I remember prepping the night before to make sure all my sound equipment worked. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this Earth My Body thing. And I was like, but what if people want something, like, what if they like it and they want another one and I don't have another one, right? And I said to myself right then and there, well, I just don't know what I'll do. But
I just don't know.
I just don't know, right? And so I just went, and I was like, and I'm going to bed. Like, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I literally walked into that event with. I had something prepared, obviously, and I also had an I don't know in my back pocket. And we ended the night, and I felt like it was very expansive.
It was very expansive.
Because the universe
Yes.
delivered this moment where everybody did like it, and they were like, let's just do something else. And I was like, I don't know. Do you guys want to just try to create something on the fly?
Yeah.
And we did.
And we did.
And it was
It
amazing.
was really beautiful.
It was really beautiful.
It was really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was a shared moment. I mean, I just love the whole idea of circles and coming together that way anyway.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And we need more of that.
We do.
We do.
And everyone there said that. And it wasn't
right.
that what I was doing was so incredible. It's that what was happening in the group
Yeah.
was so incredible.
Right.
That's what was really special. And it was it was just a great night.
Yes.
Anyway, so yes, we've got our I don't know.
My body, water, my blood, air, my breath, and fire, my spirit.
That's the
And on
song.
that note, we're going to go fire up our spirits,
we
people.
are. We're going to go outside and burn these.
Yes, let's do it.
That's right. So follow us on Insta where you can see us burning our I don't knows into
Yeah,
the
and you know what? We
universe.
have more paper, so we're probably not going to limit it with I don't knows.
Correct.
We might burn lots of stuff today.
Yeah, I think we might. I'm kind of in a Bernie mood now, actually, because that was a great conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it and had like
Me too.
major ahas for
Yes.
myself.
So let us know when you hear this if you have any ahas.
I would love to hear them. Love to hear them.
And maybe also what we'll do is we'll put a little fire ritual 101 together for people to follow too.
That would be great.
Okay.
Be awesome. All right,
But
everybody.
until next time, that's woo woo in the real world.
Bye.